G'day Reefers, I'm Cam the Fish Guy. Today we've got a really exciting tank to work on. We're doing a maintenance service on an 800 litre mixed reef tank. You can see there's beautiful colonies of Acro, there's euphyllias, Duncanopsamia, all sorts of corals. This tank is lit by 5 Hydra 52 HDs. It's giving really good light penetration for such a deep tank. We've got a refugium with macroalgae, reactors. We're running carbon. One of the things we'll have to do is change the medium in the reactor, get that working. We have got a very large skimmer, a Nios Quantum 300, that really rips out a lot of waste. We've got a Phosphane reactor, a Hydra stream. We've got 2 UV sterilizers. One of the jobs we'll be doing today will be to fix the, to replace the tubes in the UV sterilizer, and we'll be doing a big water change. So let's get into it. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is test the water. Okay, so this is our parameter log sheet, and we do tests on the nitrate, phosphate, salinity, pH, carbonate hardness, calcium, magnesium, depending on the tank. So we'll often do potassium, iodine, sometimes strontium. But importantly, we chart these levels so that we know what the tank is doing. And today, we've noticed that the salinity is a little bit higher than we want, so we might drop that slightly. And the magnesium too. We dropped the magnesium last service, and we'll drop it again, probably just by 5%, just to get it under 1500. Okay, so we're going to adjust the amount of magnesium that's being dosed by the doser. We've got a lot of equipment in this cupboard, so the doser is a little bit difficult to access, but I can get to it. So magnesium is on pump 3. Okay, so now it's time for us to start the service. We're going to do a bit of a gravel back to clean up the substrate here. I'm going to start by turning off the automatic top up and the wave makers. So now I'm just doing a gravel vac. This helps by turning over the sand. It makes the sand look nice and white, but it's also helping to control the problem algae that's growing on the substrate. And you can see that the bacterial silt and detritus from in the substrate is actually coming up through the gravel back into the bucket. And I'm using a gravel vac with a 12mm hose that I'm pinching off to stop the flow so that I can control the amount of flow and ensure that we don't get sand in the bucket. Now what I'm going to do is manually remove some of the filamentous algae we have in here. So I'm using a siphon hose, and it's siphoning into a bucket. I'm going to use the pinch and pull method. Pinching off the algae and letting it go up the siphon tube. Once I've got as much of this off as possible, I'll go over it with a toothbrush to really try and remove this algae. So you can see that the return is sucking air, blowing out bubbles. I've waited until now to turn off the return. I'll turn it off now, just so that I can remove as much of the water from the sump as possible. So now I'm going to hopefully kill an aptasia I'm using Aptasia X. The important thing when using this product is to shake the bottle thoroughly, and you want to try and get a nice big dollop right onto the face of the Aptasia. Okay, so we've turned off the flow, get right in amongst the tentacles, and with a large dollop, try not to have too much mess of the Aptasia treatment on the other corals. And there's another one down here, go right in amongst his tentacles. So I'm going to clean the guys now. Just take the magnet off. So these ones have got the magnetic brackets affixed to the rotor cages. So I'm going to take these off. They're generally a little bit stiff. Very stiff. So I'm going to take this opportunity with the gyres removed from the tank to clean the algae behind the gyres. And this is one of my favourite pieces of equipment for cleaning algae. It's a razor holder, and it really gets every little bit of algae. It allows you to do a perfect job. So now I'm going to clean out the refugium. The Ketomorpha has a bit of problem algae, and it also is pretty heavy with bacterial silt. You can see it's dirty there. So it's just a case of rinsing it. I rinse it in water that's come from the tank. Some people rinse it in fresh water even. It's not too important. The hard part is getting it out without making too much of a mess. So I'll just put a towel down. There's not much you can do to stop the splash. So I'm just giving it a bit of a rinse in water out of the tank, and now that I've got all the bacterial silt in suspension, I was going to tip out that dirty water. Oops, not the keto. So you can see this was definitely due for a clean. Lots of bacteria in the water. Okay, now back in the sun. Time to clean out the skimmer. I'm going to grab the neck of the skimmer and twist the cup off. I haven't actually worried about turning it off. I know this skimmer won't overflow. One of the extra jobs that we have today is to remove this stag. You can see there's a lot of dye off, and we're going to take the stag out and cut off the live sections, re-glue them into the tank, and then discard the dead section. So getting this stag out without causing any damage may be the hard part, or make them off easy. Oh, there we go. It's going to be easy. Done. So cut it there, probably there, and use this section and over here as well, and re-glue them into the tank. Alright, so You can see this is where the tissue is dying off. I'm just going to cut it upstream of the recession, and that's the bit we'll use. So when I use coral glue, it's very important that the glue is nice and thick so that you get a big dollop that can stand up under its own weight like so, and then straight into the position. Now I know this is going to sit there quite nicely, but it definitely helps having the flow off, and I'll probably have to hold it here for maybe 30 seconds or so before there's enough hold that I can take my hand away. Now we're going to do a water change on the tank. We're going to do around about 50%. So this is, I think it's about an 800 litre tank. We'll probably water change 400 or 500 litres. So to take that amount of water out, we're using a large hose because we want to do this as quickly as possible so that the corals aren't out of the water any longer than they need to be. So this is going to be a very quick water change. The corals won't be out of the water for very long, but I still like to just splash a little bit of water over the corals to stop them from drying out. Acros are actually quite resilient when it comes to being out of the water, so not a problem, but might as well just do a bit of a splash while I'm here. We've got 600 litres of natural seawater collected on the high tide. It's feeding down through the IBC. I'll open up the valve now. That's letting the water into the line. So this is pretty much it for our clean. The tank is full. We've turned on the return pumps. The wave makers are back on. The temperature is good. And so now all we need to do is just polish the glass and put the hood back on. So that's our video for today. If you enjoyed it, hit the like button, hit the subscribe as well. We'll be putting out videos every week showing a new tank with new products. There's going to be lots in all the videos. I'm Cam the Fish Guy, and keep on reefing.